language. Hi. Hi. Welcome, you guys. Welcome back to live shows. Thank you to Chris and Melody Cortez here at the Blue Bamboo, the owners here at the Blue Bamboo. You know, this whole last year, they haven't really completely gone away. They have tried every which way, and they've held many shows, many streams. They've made, extreme efforts, jumped through hoops in order to keep the entertainment flowing. And, tonight is kind of special. I'm going to be reading some short stories. Some of you may not know that. Hi, Susan. Hi, Pam. Hi, Nikki. Oh, my God. There's, besides the library, this is probably the only place in town where I could, read my short stories. Thank you to Chris and Melody for having me. I feel very blessed. I want to say hello to all the folks that are streaming tonight, listening and watching from home. That's nice, beautiful. And I want to thank all of you for coming. I have to tell you that I didn't use any social media to get these seats sold tonight. I know the Blue Bamboo website did their thing, but everybody that's here tonight got a personal invitation, and thank you very much for responding and for being here tonight. It means a lot. So, we've been feeling very vulnerable over this last year. Have you felt that way? And so I just had to roll with it. And what I did was I read a lot of books, and I wrote short stories. There's nothing remarkable about them. They're just raw and they're honest, and they came naturally. It's something that when I say it came naturally, I finally sat down and did something that I'd always wanted to do, and that's to write short stories. I've been writing songs for a long time, and many, many, many times over the years, I ran into situations that were just far too complicated for me to put into songs. And I knew, this would make a far better story. And so I finally put that into practice over the last year. And like I say, it's not going to blow anyone's mind, but it comes from deep inside me. And you all are my friends. And I just want to share that with you. Thank you. I sent you some programs so you know where we are. We'll have a little intermission. And here we go. my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. Thank you so much. This is the first time I've played this guitar in public. This is a student model Alvarez it's from 1975, so you gotta love that. Even though it's just a student model, it's from the 70s. I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky where my parents were born. There's a backwoods old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is holding away. Well, sometimes we travel right down the Green River to the abandoned old prison down by Adrian Hill, where the air smelled like snakes and we'd shoot 'em with our pistols, but empty pop bottles is all we would kill. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is holding away. Well, the coal company came with the world's largest shovel. They tortured the timber and they stripped all the land, and they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, and they wrote it all down as the progress of man. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is holding away. Let my ashes float down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. Just 5 miles away from wherever I'm waiting, 5 miles away from wherever I am. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is holding away. Sing with me, Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay. Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is holding away. Mr. Peabody's coal train is holding away. I'm done with this guitar, Chris. Okay. Thank you so much. Don't you just love John Prine? The world is a different place without him. So here's the first story. There are two stories tonight that bear some memory of my mother. This is called Picture of an Unmade Bed. The image of the bed where they slept throws a deep, painful jab to the body's memory. Moments from years collapse on one another, like shuffling a deck of cards. They were a long time married, and when he wasn't stationed elsewhere on duty, she was sleeping next to him for nearly 50 years. Many nights not speaking, mostly worry, not the kind of love one aches for. She threatened to divorce him in 1975. I think that was the year when I was around 15. I'm not sure what happened. I think he might have fessed up to something and it set her off. She announced this to me alone. My siblings nor my dad were living at the house at this interim time. I immediately burst into tears and screams. Just the year before, we had moved 3,000 miles back east, leaving my friends and beloved home in the Mojave Desert behind. My heart had stopped right there in 9th grade. I'll be damned if now my parents were going to split, and I protested that I would leave them both and move back to 29 Palms. They stuck it out, I think mostly because my mom might have thought that I looked insane and that maybe I would really leave when I raged at her that afternoon. But if you do the math, it was 17,000 plus days and nights times thousands more thoughts next to his body. All that worry and guilt and discontent absorbed by the mattress and the nervous system. Fast forward to approximately 11 years ago, during a visit with her, I found the pillows in a line down the middle of the bed, placed in a row from head to foot. I stood still taking it in, a place for her to lean where there was no longer a body, warm and breathing. I think she must have fantasized or imagined what life would be like without him, for he wore on her, pushing her buttons, and at a certain point in his condition, she began to dread arrival of sunset when the worst of his symptoms of dementia would raise their head. He had been losing his mind for some years. It had not been the sweet life, the retirement years, when they rolled right into a trio of hurricanes, the year they decided to move south to Florida. Dad was never the same after the wind tore at the structure and the rain poured down the interior walls. His medications were increased, and I never really could reach him after that. You couldn't say that she didn't miss him, and only in the time of his passing, 7 years after Charlie, did she begin to ask herself seriously, where does one go? Is there an afterlife? Is there a God? My mother followed my father in death that next spring in 2012. I too became a widow the year prior. Now today, it is August 2020, and I stand in the sunroom stuck inside, sheltered from the Florida heat and a killer virus, and it's been 8 years now since my mother's passing. Finally now less swollen from grieving, and with time on my hands, I started going through a box thick with old photos, birth and death notices, grandchildren's school pictures, letters from relatives, and her much-prided quilting ribbons. There are news clippings, some proud moments, some not-so-proud times, and I'm slightly relieved to see that I'm not the only woman in the family that was ever arrested. Also happy that mine wasn't announced in the town paper. Apparently, my great-grandma liked the beer and became belligerent in a bar and was carried away by the po-po. Among all of this, I found a strange picture of my parents' bed. It was unmade, the pillows nudged against the headboard, the sheet still pulled down, and after close inspection, I knew what this image meant, what she had captured. As I studied it, wondering why this bland picture of the beige sheets overexposed by flash and an awful overhead light, looking closer, I could see where his body had laid. This picture would have been taken his last morning at home. The last sleep, the last coffee, the last time his body would shuffle to the table, the last time she would hear his voice in the morning, that groggy, sweet good morning, and his praise to God. He wouldn't have known that a bag had been packed for him the day before. He wouldn't have comprehended that he was leaving home. Home then was not the green hollers of eastern Kentucky, but it was a sandy stretch of a treeless town in southwest Florida known as Port Charlotte. On that day, the day she took the picture of the bed, he would be admitted to the veterans' nursing home, just 2 miles from the place he lived with his wife, my mother, a woman sometimes he didn't recognize, in a place he never really grew to love, like the land of bluegrass and horses. It was just where he was. Where he was in his mind, I don't know, but he would never return to this house again. And there was the shape he had left in the bed, in the sheets, and after returning to the house alone, she walked back to the bedroom and with one of those crappy old Instamatics that she always used, she took that picture of the bed. I realize only now something in her was a lot like me, a spy for a story, a witness, a keeper of thoughts, and bits of tiny evidence of something that went down that the world around us wouldn't much notice. It might have looked like a miss shot to anyone else shuffling through the box, but I knew what it was. He was my father. Life truly comes and goes, and there are distinct impressions left behind. His boot print in the garden, the splash on the mirror after the last shave, his high cheekbones in a grandchild's face, the high-low ebbing faith in his daughter's heart. She might not have liked him all that much for a very long time, but she took that picture of where his body had last been when she carried his bag to the car and drove him down the road, never to return to the space beside her. This old photograph has been found, pulled from the Tupperware she tossed it in. I carry that excruciating memory for her now. It is not lost. So it is a very vulnerable set. There is vulnerability running through this entire show tonight. So there's going to be moments where it gets a little dark, but I know you guys have been watching Handmaid's Tale, all of you. So It doesn't get that dark. Okay, I gotta plug this one in. This one's for you, Annie. All we really need is some water. Gonna fetch a pail. Another pail, maybe one more to bathe ourselves and later fetch a pail, fetch another pail. All I really need to be is 100 miles away, and for my babies to be safe, for my babies to be safe. Reckon I better pull some light to me. Gonna pull the light we need. Candle in the drawer and a saucer for beneath. Gonna pull the light we need. And where will we go to lay our three heads safe from the glass? Wind and rain from the glass, wind and rain. Someday this marsh gonna break away, and the concrete line that great abyss, and this southeast prairie will be but a memory. Come another hurricane season like this. Come another hurricane season like this. Getting down, 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 letting down, 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 letting down, 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 down. Sit down, write my love a letter, write a letter to the one I love. Bury it deep, just to be found years later, neath the rubble, beneath the mud. 'Cause if this storm should pass, and I have not survived, the safe world will know my love. The safe world will know my love. So sister, grab your fiddle, put it way up high in a closet, way up high. Floyd, don't blow the roof off, then we'll play another round. Put that fiddle way up high, and hope the mighty hand of God will turn this storm around, and we'll wake up safe and dry, and we'll wake up safe and dry. Someday this marsh gonna break away, and the concrete lie in that great abyss, and this south you. Thank you so much. Most of you have probably not heard this next song, Junebug. There's a kind of theme of summer running through this set as well. I wrote this song about someone that I knew very, very briefly, but it's funny, every now and then you write a song about someone else, but you see yourself in it. This could very well have been written about myself. This is called Junebug. The guitar just came in the monitor, Chris. Not sure what that was. You could probably turn it down a little bit, though. Thank you. Not sure what that was about. Hey, girl, you the one with the dark eyes. It's like you're living in a coal mine. Won't you set yourself free? Hey, girl, how long you gonna choose to stay down? How long you gonna play the sad clown? Is that any way to be? Junebug, the days of summer are long. The bands are playing their songs that everybody loves to dance to. But you're like a deer in the headlights. You gotta have things just right. Won't you set yourself free? Come on, open up your door. Won't you meet us on the dance floor? Well, it's late, and you're still playing the blame game. Meanwhile, the world's changed, and you're standing behind. And your dreams are laying there in a rest, while they long to be confessed. Honey, set your dreams free now. Junebug, the days of summer are long. The bands are playing their songs that everybody loves to dance to. But you're like a deer in the headlights. You've got the past wrapped up tight. Won't you set yourself free? Come on, open up your door. Won't you meet us on the dance floor? Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. So, it's story time again. There's 4 stories total, so there's 2 in each set. And this next one is called The Boneyard. This is where I spent a lot of my time the first 4 months of quarantine. What a crazy time it's been. 6 years ago, in 2015, after 4 years of dangling in space and time, post a trauma that still has me partially in its clutch, I moved back into my home in Colonial Town. This last spring, while working in the yard, I found some things a renter had left behind scattered around the property. For example, I found her money frog while hacking down for the 3rd time some unidentifiable shrub she had planted on the back side of the garage that grows both too tall and too wide without ever boasting a bloom or a fruit. I rinsed off the frog, made of green jade-like glass, and it sits inside my house, not necessarily in its perfect feng shui location, but still I saved it from the tip of my spade, and I want to believe it has saved me from financial doom. Another of her totems I found while trying to butcher the encroaching bamboo coming under the fence from the neighbor's yard were 2 plastic snakes at the foot of a papaya tree she had planted. The symbolism here might be that the snakes keep the rodents from the fruit. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. I washed them off and saved them 2 in a tray of pots where I had planted coral beans and marigold seeds. She left a few things behind I felt could come into use or certainly worthy of saving from the trash. I am one of those eccentric types that thinks things should be used and repurposed again and again until they start to break down. It's a quality I picked up from wise ones along my journey. I'm not too proud to collect things from off the curb, the waiting room to the landfill. And when I look around my house and my belongings, it's hard to find anything that was brought home from a retail store. Frequenting yard sales, estate sales, antique and vintage markets, and thrift stores are a source of fun and joy, alone or with a like friend. Truly, there is nothing like plucking something completely usable and practical or an object of beauty on some level from the side of the road. And like my mother, I lay the back end of my car with the seats down and ready with cardboard and blankets to safely transport my claim. A neighbor of mine slipped and called my collections hoarding. I call the things I save back and pick up off the street my boneyard of future projects. I am a procrastinator, I admit, but I have more recently honed my skills at drawing the line for both things and people that bog me down, and that includes booting myself out of my own way when necessary. I'll just say, though, there was no better time than the onset of a worldwide pandemic and the low and sad state of affairs to move on activating the boneyard, lightening the load, and making stuff happen. Pavers were organized into stacks of like sizes, and pallets were sawed into lengths for making shadow boxes and bird houses that have yet to be built, but for now are acceptable firewood. Old stain was removed from a 1940s table I found on the curb and was refreshed with new honey-toned stain and sealer. Scraps of lyrics were turned into songs, and memories were shaped into stories as I enjoyed the outdoor yet private boneyard. The spring was merciful and cool. I sat at the table under shade, where between edits I enjoyed sips of strong coffee, puffs of nature's cure-all, and plates of eggs and toast. And while switching to the binoculars, I spotted the yellow-throated and black-poll warblers for the very first time. I got serious about repotting all my adopted plants and cuttings needing bigger vessels, and planted those things which time it was to dedicate to the ground. I moved everything that stood or laid in the boneyard once or 3 or times more. I turned over the topsoil for pathways and had buckets filled with spare dirt and piles of roots drying for kindling. Trees were trimmed and borders and edges were beginning to find definition. Twinkle lights and a collection of bird cages sprayed in an array of pastel colors hung in the camphor, bringing more whimsy to the boneyard. The birds were fed well. I spoiled them with feed, and before I knew it, the place was a regular stop for all the regulars and more. Also stray cats, possums, bats, frogs, and something altogether new. I came upon twice the eastern glass lizard, a species endemic to this geographical area, the swamp. Poor, oversized, legless lizard, not quite a snake, an introvert, rightly so, stays hidden under oak leaves and Spanish moss, and is an easy target for birds of prey once my rake has abruptly uncovered it. It tries desperately to have the speed of a common garden snake, but it only wriggles in panic for cover and breaks in half if you dare to pick it up. Sorry. But what a sight it was at the golden hour with its green and golden skin, truly sparkling like glass, blending in beautifully with the shiny, crisp umber shells of old oak leaf. I caught the red-shouldered hawk lifting away with an unsuspecting rat. Oh, the cycle of life. It seemed the yard had reached a sort of climax when weeks into this process, I heard 2 crows come settle high in a rain tree, calling out, alerting, something sounding like, "This is the spot. This is where it's happening." Part of me wondered if they had spotted the silhouettes of the plastic snakes laying in the seed tray. Could it be? I could hear them, but couldn't yet see them for several days, and then they showed themselves to me when they thought the moment right to drop down on the roof of the garage. Still hanging close, 2 days later, one moved even closer, landing on the fence, while the other stayed high on the roof. I'm realizing the stir I have caused by churning up ground dirt, adding the pungent black cow manure soil to every new planting, plus the exposure of life forms as I turned over composting wood. The breaking down of cardboard and lawn cuttings was highly stimulating to the wildlife, making itself at home in my yard in the city. I saw a mockingbird dart directly from a power line into a moist pot of porterweed to collect a worm that I couldn't see with my own eyes, and watched it lift immediately into the protection of the oak. Every creature is an expert at their game, and yet we are all prey for some other living thing. All of this was so magical for me to witness. It was what I needed to keep me sane as the months went on, with unspeakable acts of hate, outright insanity, and fear that any relief wouldn't come soon enough. I was very aware that life would forever be different. I insisted that my life would be different, and that I was going to burst forward into the new, morph, transcend, travel further from the shadow self. I began to feel this urgent departure from the old ways when I realized that there was something missing from the yard. The mourning doves that had for years lived happily among the Carolina wren, the titmouse and cardinal, the blue jay and the red-bellied woodpecker were all gone, not a single pair left behind. I suppose if I were really a keeper of the boneyard, the soil, the plants, the creatures, I would have realized that by subsequently attracting the birds of prey, that the slow-lifting, wide-girthed doves would be target too. They were smart enough to leave, but it made me sad. One morning, days and days after this realization, I spotted a single dove that sat on the wire beyond the fence across Shine Avenue. I was fixed on it. I felt like sobbing. It sat looking over at the boneyard. I felt as if it was looking directly at me, as if trying to communicate, knowing that this being was attached to the plentiful food. Was there anything I could do? I recoiled in my memory back to the summer of 2006, what seems to be another lifetime ago, when I explored a tiny stretch of Garin Creek, located at the home of a sweet, pale-faced, ginger-haired woman in Fairview, North Carolina. I played for hours, fishing out old broken pieces of pottery, driftwood, fool's gold, young boys lost tiny trinkets, and bits of quartz. I dried my treasures and displayed them in a basket woven the shape of a swan and sat its centerpiece on the dining table. For half the day, I searched the bottom and played with the lay of rock to change the direction and the force of the water. I realized come nightfall, as we lay in bed with the fan in the window bringing in the cool night air, that I had disturbed every living thing in the creek that lay between the bridge and the bend where the mountain laurel reached from one side of the creek to the other. I have been this way since I was a child, exploring coastal woods and trekking the unforgiving desert. I want to be with the wild. I want to work with nature, not against it. And like an archaeologist, I want to turn things over and discover nature and life from underneath and inside. I want to find what others have left behind: a talisman, a wind chime fallen from a tree, tiny animal bones, a St. Joseph. A 1950s roofing nail is better saved in a pot than in the foot. I'll tell you what, though, you don't expect sometimes the way these things come into your life and how they make you feel. Now, a year later, healthy, sane, and vaccinated, I am still choring outside, but not heartily as last spring. A dove couple has come to the fence line. I acknowledged them. Then they were next seen in the magnolia out front. They will slowly return. The will of nature is fierce. I whistle and make my ticking sounds to the birds and the squirrels, the possum and the raccoon. I don't know how it translates. I mean to be gentle. I mean to be a safe place. Thank you so much. So, I read this book that had been on the shelf for 3 years called Shape-Shifting, Ideas of Global and Personal Transformation, I think is the whole title. And I got to thinking a lot about shape-shifting and about, untapped power, the power that humans, well, I don't know exactly, Neanderthals maybe, before we wore hard shoes and pants, that fight or flight thing, if you see a tiger, you turn into a tiger to defend yourself. And I started to think about that, but I also just started to think about could I really do that? Could I become Mother Nature if I really worked really hard at it? If I just became a really, really, really good person. But this is where this song comes from. And I just wrote the music for this just like maybe a week ago. So this is a first time for this. This is called Song for Crow. And then we have one more song after this, and then we take a little break, okay? You guys good? Song for Crow. This crow is my true friend. He's a little broken like me, preening on the fence line, no longer in the tree. Here on my little stretch of land, eating out of my hand, and he bows in exchange as if to say thank you, ma'am. We live the simple life a few miles away from town, and when I go to chorin', he follows me around, and the other birds all know just to let matters go, while he alone inspects the soil after my rake and hoe. I like to wear my same clothes over and over again, and like my feathered friend, I want to grow into my skin. My jeans, boots, and shirt, a thin layer of dirt. Transcendence is our prayer to once again become the earth. I want to soar above this place. I want to disappear from clear sight without making a sound. I want to lift above the ground. I won't mourn for this life when my mind and body go, when I am finally free from gravity. There'll come a wind to lift me up, way above the pines. I want to feel the cool relief piloting through the night sky. I want to look back on this place when it's time for me to leave. We'll be rising, the crow and me. As shapeshifters, the crow and me, how I was bound to the ground and how he once flew over me. I was yearning to soar when he came to taste the seed. We'll be rising, the crow and me. I'm sure that I will fly. I won't yet be a falcon when it's my time to die, but he'll be strong enough to carry him, and he'll be my navigator. We are shapeshifters, the crow and me. We are shapeshifters, my friend and me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It does sound like James Taylor, doesn't it? You know, I forget to mention James Taylor when people ask me, you know, who did I listen to or who influenced me. And, you know, honestly, I wrote those lyrics earlier in quarantine, and then more recently, a friend of mine in music, an amazing bluegrass bass player, contacted me and said, why don't we co-write something? I said, well, I have these lyrics that I just wrote. I don't have music. And I sent them off to her, and she never responded, and that's okay. But I knew that this song would fit into tonight's set, so I don't know. I just went there, and I knew it was like the ultimate, like 1970s, you know, Jackson Brown. It just came, and it just fit so perfectly. I hope that I'm not completely ripping something off, but it's. So speaking of the 1970s, in 1977, I moved to a little town outside of Athens, Ohio, to a farm in Dexter, Ohio. And anyways, it was about 35 minutes to Athens, which is what they call the Santa Cruz of the East, big party town, Ohio University. And I was 18, and I was immediately introduced into the music community there, and I had the time of my life. I only lived there for 2.5 years, but it has a huge place in my heart. And one of the songwriters, so many, I was introduced to Loudon Wainwright, actually Kate and Anna McGarrigle, the McGarrigle sisters, for the first time. It was 1977, and I heard this song that I'm about to sing, and at first it was the McGarrigle sisters, but you know, one of them is married to Loudon Wainwright, and they have these brilliant children, Martha Wainwright and Rufus Wainwright, and they make beautiful music. But I never learned this song until quarantine. It took me 40 years to sit down with this song, and I realized it's the most vulnerable song I've ever heard. And it's called the Swimming Song, and it goes like this. And if anybody knows it, I've made a chorus out of the first verse, and please feel free to sing along with me. This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned, but I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around. I moved my arms around. This summer I swam in the ocean, I swam in a swimming pool. Salt my wounds, chlorine my eyes, I'm a self-destructive fool. Self-destructive fool. This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned, but I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around. I moved my arms around. did the breaststroke and the butterfly and the old Australian crawl, the old Australian crawl. This summer I swam in a public place and a reservoir to boot. At the latter I wasn't formal, at the former I wore my suit, I wore my swimming suit. This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned, but I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around, I moved my arms around. This summer I did the swan dive and jackknives for you all, and once when you weren't looking I did a cannonball, I did a cannonball. This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned, but I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around, I moved my arms around. One more time. This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned, but I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around, I moved my arms around. This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned. Yeah! Woo! Thank you so much. Let's take a break. Thank you.
You've just gotta listen to me, dear. The skies are gonna clear up. Smile for me, darling. Sit right down and listen here. Now every time it rains for me, it's raining pennies from heaven. No matter the mood I'm in, and don't you know, each cloud contains pennies from heaven. Just look and you'll find your fortune will falling all over town. Be sure your umbrella is up, upside down, my baby. And then when you go out, you're trading it for a package of happiness and flowers. And baby, if you want the things you love, you best have showers. When you hear thunder, don't run down under a tree. There's pennies from heaven for only you and me. Yep, baby, only you and me. Every time the rain comes tumbling down, suddenly I think about you and see you standing there with your head hanging down each time you think about me. I've given you every bit of loving, every time you call and say to me, whoa, whoa, honey, won't you come on home and run to me, only to see you're back there in front of me. It's me, right here in front of you, that girl you met 50 summers ago. Remember all the poems and love songs that we through our very first kiss, playing on and on forever. Ooh, my baby, with each touch, save me. No matter what, whatever mood I'm in, you know we've got each other. Years gone by, I still remember the vow, and that's why I stand before you now. Got no umbrella, because it's only for a pack of sun. Even though the rain's a minor shame, it's such a pain that you still claim that I'm the dame, and that the love within the drain only for my own entertainment. No, you couldn't be wrong, and I've been waiting for so long to sing a simple song for you now. No matter what, whatever mood I'm in, you know, I really don't care about what the others say. My heart has found its way, and though it's foggy, dark, and cloudy, man, you really brighten up my day. And even though you're throwing sticks and stones, I've traded our love for bones, and not even you will break through. Because no matter how you try, my heart will belong to you.
me. Careful of me, go you tripping. Speaks like my sundown. Now he's nobody's fool. I'm keeping it cool as can be. I'll give him a word. I ain't got no guy catching me. Switcheroo, telephone number, will you know? Doing the rumble with Uno. And that my satin doll. And ooh, and that is my sandal. And that is my satin doll. Thank you so much.
wondering where I'll begin. Head underwater, just letting the tide pull me in. This is where I find the views. There is no sound.
Welcome back. Who's here tonight at the Blue Bamboo for the first time? Quite a few of you. Awesome. Very good. Very good. I want to say thank you to Lynn Darcy, who works switching the camera and probably a lot more. She's a beautiful lady. We're so happy to have her here. Be sure to, say hello to Chris and Melody and Lynn before you, say goodnight. And be sure to come back. If you put yourself on the mailing list, they will send you the calendar monthly and then week by week. And if there's a time when you can't make a show, they're usually streaming every show. And if there's something, every show. And so if you're not able to come to the venue, you can always sit at home. They release a link every night for the show. And you can watch it later. There's a link. You can watch this show again. So, this story threw me for a loop. I actually rewrote this whole thing 2 days ago. It turned into a children's story at the last minute. It took this weird turn. Anyways, I happen to have a couple of young friends here tonight, my friends Remy and Roman, and I would love to invite them up to the stage and let me read them a story. Come on up, Roman. Why don't you sit right here, friend? Hi, Remy. She's 14. How are you doing?
Great, how are you?
Good. Thanks for coming up here, you guys. These are my friends. I've known them since Remy was this tall when she was 3. And I've known Roman since before he was even born. He's a gymnast. He came out of the womb doing perfect backflips. And Remy is a ballerina. When she was little, she wanted to be a scientist. I'm not sure if she still wants to do that. Probably not. Maybe she doesn't remember that. Roman's a great artist as well. They each dabble with the ukulele and the piano, and I'm not sure, where music is going to go for them, but they do so many things, and they do so many things well, and I love them a lot. So this turned into a children's story, so I'm just going to go for it. The top of it is a sort of setup, okay? So this starts out. It's just some of the feelings of nervousness and anxiety, that we all suffered at the top of what was 2020. This is called Long-Toothed Beast. My reaction was to go quiet. I turned away from all social media, with the algorithms and the networks went haywire, and the internet crashed, and folks split into panic and protest. I lowered the volume of the sound of the exodus towards stream time, virtual tip jars, the pining, the politicking, the heightened new reality. While the noise rose, while the noise and anxiety rose, the body was now at a loss for being seen or heard above the channels of chaos. Influencers shrank in disbelief as cash flow and daily goods ran short, and as the screens of the followers went black and the doors of where they could always find an admirer were chained shut for the unforeseeable future. I can't explain why. I just wanted to turn off the noise and to be still. I buried myself inside books, and I held a place in my heart for well-being. But down deep, I was devastated at how this abomination held us in fear and sorrow, and the days and the weariness dragged on and on. In the corner of my mind, though, I understood it to be like a pin in a map, marking the place where we had been heading for a very long time. My country and the world is at a crossroads, a weary intersection, a hard place between a pandemic and the wearing down of a system that leans to one side. Our errors are all exposed and facing up, glaring at us from the broken ground we stand on. And the ascended masters we claim to prescribe to are all looking down on us, shaking their heads and giving us the hand. It would be very difficult to try and describe to our youth our history. It certainly can't be found in history books, but every great fairy tale carries much the same plot. I have thought a lot about the toll this has taken on them, and I want to believe that there is phenomena that has taken place, that a unifying consciousness has settled itself with this generation. Imagine your children describing to their future little ones what happened next. The world had been left to us in a shambles. The planet sucked nearly dry. Spineless pigs were ruling the roost, sleeping with the enemy and wheeling and dealing away the last of all of our resources, only to hoard them for themselves. Something had to be done. It seemed the end was nearing. So the commoners and the workadayers mustered in many, many groups around the globe in secret, in places high and low. Women made the children tiny peanut butter and avocado sandwiches to keep them nourished, and the men guarded the young ones' safety, patrolling their locations with sharp eyes and serious care, while the children, using science, technology, and wizardry, formulated a plan, for where there was a will, there was a way, to not only rescue, but to revive humanity and their beautiful planet Earth. And when the time grew ripe, the troops were dispatched. They positioned themselves with the help of obliging servants at the back entryways into every dictator's fortress, country by country. They were guided, tiptoeing quietly to the overly lavish slumber quarters where the pigs lay sleeping, grotesquely swollen in food comas, with their smart watches synchronized at the perfect moment on cue. Every girl and boy from around the world, in every skin and hair color known to man, with their freak flags flying, went on mission and arrived at the front lines to save the people of the world from corruption, to take back their freedoms, to live the lives they chose. The children crept in quietly and stripped the fancy clothing and all the gaudy jewels from the spineless sleeping pigs. And as they jerked awake, their wretched comb-overs flung to the opposite side of their dripping snouts. And as they caught sight of themselves in the mirror, naked and jewelless, they collapsed in horror and died of sheer humiliation. Not a single act of violence or abuse was used in the demise of these worthless clowns. The children's plan to have the tyrants see themselves for just what they were was a total success. The children burst out in celebration, cheering each other on. And then there was clearance for the next plan of action. All signals were aglow. The troops departed the high castles and hiked towards the waters. Radio channels were clear. USA, USA, ready. Greenland, Greenland, ready. France, ready. We're all in place, Captain G. Okay, people, stand by. Around the world and under the direction of one brilliant young woman, ever crowned in pigtails, her millions of posse set out to save all of Mother Nature. From the bows of great sailing ships with foghorns blaring long, solid blast across the bay waters as they entered the seas, they reclaimed the oceans and the skies. And in good time, we could breathe easy. The water flowed clear and cool. The forest, the desert, and mountains once again sprang back and beckoned the wildlife to return home. We learned how to work in harmony with each other and with the earth so that we could live here together for many generations to come. Imagine their dismay, though, before the age of reparation, in the hour of their waking up, when they came to understand the task ahead. For in the age of convenience, time had actually moved very, very slow, and our evolution had been painfully sloth-like against the evil-spewing, long-toothed beast. The end. Thank you, Remy and Roman. Thank you. So I've been thinking a lot. I guess I wrote this song. It says I wrote these songs, these lyrics back in April. This song came on pretty quickly. You know, when you open yourself up and you're intensely trying to change your life. You've got all this time on your hands, and you're sort of inspecting yourself, you know, self-reflection, all that stuff. I often think a lot about what we're born into, the karma that we're carrying in from our family and our family, you know, our grandmothers and grandfathers and so on and so on. That stuff stays with us for a long time. And besides karma, you also pick up people's behavior, right? You may not even be aware of it. You may not be in control. You're just picking up behavior. And it turns into self-sabotage. It turns into judgment. And I was coming to terms with something very specific in my life when these words came. And I've been working hard at just going to the paper and spilling it out, and just putting it all down. And that's a good way to practice writing, is just get it all out on the paper. Get it all out, and then make sense of it later. And it's interesting how, just being really open changes the way your art shows up. The way the rhymes are hitting the page on this particular song, and sort of the lack of making this a piece that goes by like the standard, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It doesn't do that. It's just honest. It's just honest. And I needed to set that up a little bit because it's kind of a weird little song. But this is called Betrayal Bone, and it's new, so like I said, it's a very vulnerable night. Some will say it's for the lack of love. I've got this ornery way about me, and by the same logic, I'm sure it's why I often fail. Always stopping short of things I might desire. Dreams are distractions when your head's on fire. I tried it once, I've got the road stories to tell. There's no comfort in what's familiar. I was always ill at ease. If you take a closer look, you'll see that love ain't all gone. I always knew you would summon me up, and I never did gain the trust. I'm telling you now, nobody's all that right, and they ain't all wrong. Some get all the luck, while some get all the pain. Both are just illusions when you finally are clean. I'm coming clean, I'm breaking the bone, resetting this life. I'm changing the tone. The time has come for one to admit what others have always known. I was made with betrayal deep down in my bones. I betrayed you, but failed myself first. I've got a big, big heart, but my bones are dying of thirst. Some get all the luck, while some get all the pain. Funny, both are just illusions when you finally are clean.
I'm coming clean. I'm breaking the bone, resetting this life. I'm changing the tone. The time has come for one to admit what others have always known. I was made with betrayal deep down in my bones. I betrayed you, but failed myself first. I've got a big, big heart, but my bones are dying of thirst.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I've been singing this next song. This is called Maybe Alcohol. I've been singing this one now for maybe. You are right. That's where we are. This is about a character that needed to look in the mirror too. My pages turned around. Sorry. So sorry. You are my darling, and I am your king. We sleep all day, and we rock all night. I made you my missus, and you married me in Memphis. And the band drove on through the night. Your loving drives me crazy. I'm gonna spoil you, baby. Ain't we in the high cotton now? Oh, we sure did get our fill when we rolled it into Nashville. Honey, you shine me up like a dime. Honey, ain't you having a ball? Step right up, pretty girl. Take a turn on the tilt-a-whirl. You and me, honey, let's go for a ride. If I land down the stairs, stay too long at the fair. Honey, if tonight I should lose my mind, tell me, baby, ain't we having a ball?
slipping out of mine. There's only one thing that'll make this shaking stop. I need a little taste in the morning and a glass by the afternoon. Honey, if I lose you, I'll meet you at the top. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I know I let you down. Cash and consumption sure does lose its thrill. As hard as it is to admit it, I'm standing knee deep in it. I am caught on this spinning wheel. Maybe I should leave you. Please beg for me to leave you. Relieve me of your last heartache. It's obvious there's something that I love more than us. There's no denying now the thing I can't give up. Maybe it's the alcohol. Maybe it's the alcohol. Thank you. One more story. Are you up for it? Okay. I'll do it. You're welcome. Thank you so much. This is the first story I started at the top of quarantine. And this is another memory of my mom. It's not necessarily a memory, but it's some things that I can remember about that space and time. They say that when sometimes in your dreams, when you're dreaming about a loved one that's gone, or when you're going over a memory of that loved one, or they say that that's actually your loved one being with you, and they're remembering that time, or they're with you in your dreams, and they're with you when you're recalling. And while I was standing at the sink doing dishes one day early in quarantine,
I felt my mom come in. It's like from head to toe and through my arms and hands. And I just let it fill me up, like I didn't get distracted, and I just went with it, and I went to go right. So this is what happened that afternoon when I sat down to write. And I'll tell you that there are also other voices in this piece. The kind of voices like, the things that your mom told you, like, be sure to, not leave your purse in the shopping cart, when you're out shopping, it's those kinds of voices, like things that you heard them say over and over again. Or it's something that they would say. So sometimes there's these abstract sort of lines that are written, and it's the other voice. This is called 4 o'clock crescendo. I stand at the sink in the 4 o'clock hour as the day turns. Western light meets the kitchen side now, where in the early morning I see the moon. Several times a day, between paperwork, yard work, housework, and adjusting to a life in quarantine, I stand at this window to clean up behind myself. Here now, with my silver hair twisted up, wearing work jeans and a worn cotton apron, I feel a sense of calm. Rinsing off the dish at once, she comes into me, my mother in her young 20s, stepping in to take the place of my life and me stepping into hers. Standing at the sink with her hair still auburn and her hands still pretty and smooth, tilting the dish to dry, I hear her say, "Today is a good day." Words start to fill the interior, and instead of pacing the floor, I go to write. All 3 of us kids are here. The older 2, ages 5 and 7, are up and about, untethered with nothing planned, but following the noses on yesterday's dirty faces. The one room we sleep in stays abandoned once awake. I sit like Buddha held up by baby fat, eyes wide open. I am diapered and drooling, content in a latticed pen, centered in the living room. Today she is fulfilled with being these things: housewife, mother, keeper, maker, and bearer of burdens. Her bride's cast iron skillet hangs over the stove, by now fully seasoned, the one she threatened him with after poker and whiskey. A broom stands in the corner, the florist's swept clean linoleum. Today she tempers the anxiety of the military wife. She deems that the day's ending won't be tomorrow's news. Today she is confident that he'll return home, alive and in one piece. She pulls her hair back away from her face, opening the bobby pin with her front teeth, takes a moment to stare. Scotch-Irish, catching a hint of something untold in her eyes. Family secrets are still secrets at this time. Today she's okay with the smell of yet another pot of white beans. There will be vinegar for flavor and salt and pepper, cornbread, butter, iced sweet tea, and for dessert, another piece of cornbread with molasses, the kind from Granny's in a place called West by God, Virginia. Today she relieves herself of the normal distractions. She resists the urge to turn on the TV. The soapbox dramas, the news, the battle sounds are shut off from spilling through the front door out onto the yard to team up with the neighbors' televisions, making the soundtrack of our time. She is a thwart between us in this modern box, flashing black and white screen light onto our blue, brown, and green eyes, broadcasting the body count deep into our psyche. Not today. She'll not be distracted by the world beyond the keeping up of this tiny rented country house. Today she has caught some kind of magic, coming seemingly from out of thin air, like firefly season, suddenly on and then gone, like his love glances, now distanced. Everything that feels good quickly ends in the next wave of panic. She asks herself, why so rare a feeling? This notion today that all things great and small equal some kind of beauty, and that it may even be savored for more than just a moment. Plant zinnia seeds after last threat of frost. Her bare freckled legs are crossed at the kitchen table. She sits in a chrome and vinyl chair. Fresh coffee poured, she absorbs the sounds. The pot lid rattles with steam at boiling point. Lower the heat a third now. The sewing machine punches out stitches into a torn pillowcase from Daddy's side of the bed. Iron it smooth before replacing. The sister and the brother run out through a slamming screen door. If he doesn't come back, I'll have to go back home. How the hell do I raise these three heads in Sophia? She takes me up on her hip to the side wooden porch, coffee and cigs in the opposite hand, tips the door open with a bare foot. Hunting hounds howl in their corrals. I hear the crows cawing, crossing the clear blue sky, east to Herman's field, planted with potatoes and peanuts. A military helicopter passes overhead. My siblings cup their eyes from the blinding sun and squint in awe at the impressive green bird with its strange head wing, making that roar sound like yelling into a fan. It'll cut your fingers off. This place is known as Hawes Run in a town called Verona. The pines are tall here, enough to reach the heavens. Their roots at the base are scaly, sharp, and deep. You'd be wise to wear shoes here. My father's 5 acres across the road are full of bursting blackberry fruit. There is plenty for all of God's creatures to feed on. In 3 years, I will be old enough to reach in myself and feel the torture of their briars for the tart, gushing fruit. In 3 years, I will transcend into the wild side. I will come to recognize the sound of June bugs and rattlesnakes, bringing the hissing of the Carolina summer heat to a crescendo in the 4 o'clock hour. Still connected to her hip, the mama hunkers down on the first step. The sister and brother run to the backside of the house, where the woods begin and imagination has no compass. In 3 years, I will go there for myself to get lost in exploration of signs of life, something that belonged to someone else unknown, buried just under the surface of dirt. In 3 years, Mama will dress me and walk me down Hall's Run to attend Baptist church service alone. She lets me decide about God on my own and then comes back to get me. In 3 years, I'll take possession of the tiny blue record player and the 345s that we own, close the door for privacy, and sing into my brush. In the same time, I will live for 2 weeks in the Camp Lejeune Hospital with double pneumonia. The mama feels deep pain and fear now and is alone in it. She will bring me iced milk coffee sealed in mason jars and cold red grapes. This diamond ring doesn't shine for me anymore, plays on a sound system in the children's ward. She sits beside me, quiet and holding my hand. And at 9 p.m., she leaves to relieve the sitter. That same year, my siblings, while playing with matches, will accidentally set the tobacco barn on the next property over and acres of young pines ablaze, striking a fear of fire in my mother that lasts a lifetime. In the here and now, on the porch, she strikes a match for a cool cigarette. The baby sneezes at the exhaled smoke. She looks out onto the sandy pine needle lawn and considers dinner outside on the picnic table. She holds the baby but doesn't speak. The day is truly abuzz but waning. She swings her free arm at a horsefly. My fleshy arms and legs try wrestling from the mother's grasp, reaching out for the sight and sound of it all. The neighbor hollers for the kids to come eat. As night cools, as night comes, the air cools. Us kids are all tucked in, about to fall into the deep, wild terrors of sleep. She gives herself a late-night manicure at one end of the couch in the light of the end table lamp. And on the wall behind her, she's hung the pictures of the hunting red setters she has painted by number. The TV is on low now. This is the time, even though she's a non-believer, that all her praying is done. Today she is content with what is hers to do. Today I am content with what is mine. God keep us all in your care. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me rant and ramble. So this is a popular song amongst fans. This is called Pall Mall Cigarette. And I certainly welcome you to sing along with me. The reason I chose this song behind that story is even though I wrote this song for someone else, I saw myself in this song always. I thought about myself out on the front porch of that house on Hall's Run in Verona, North Carolina. I sat there one day, probably at around the age of 4, and I was alone. My brother and sister were probably in school, and my mom was like sewing or cooking. And I saw a bald eagle for the very first time. And even though I was 4, I knew that it was a magnificent bird and that it was our nation's bird. And when I saw it, I thought, oh my God, I'm seeing this by myself. And I turned, hoping that Mom would come through the screen door. You know, it pained me that no one else was seeing it along with me. And I've kept that image in my mind my whole life. And when I wrote this song for this subject, I was thinking of that bird in that afternoon on the porch. Please sing along with me as you wish. Come
Daddy, and bring him back home to you. Bring sweet thing home to you. Don't you know I can't sleep at night, Daddy? Oh, my mind won't let me rest. I close my eyes and you blowing smoke rings, Daddy, with your palm on cigarette. Your palm on cigarette. I'm gonna go out riding horseback, catch smoke rings on the tiptoe of my boot. I'm gonna pick sour grass and wild flowers, Daddy, and bring 'em back home to you. Bring sweet things home to you. Sing with me now. Dee-dow, 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 bring sweet things home to you. Home to you. Thank you.
It's so lovely to hear your voices. Thank you so much. We've got a couple more songs for you, and then I get to have a beer. Yes. I'm feeling a red stripe coming on. So, this is a little tiny, dark song that I wrote in the 1990s, and it's on my second record called Fool. By the way, the lobby is loaded with CDs. You can put what you want in the can or not donate any money at all. I want you to have the music. I would love it if you would take those CDs home so I don't have to carry them home. Okay? Please, help yourselves. Take them all. You know? I mean, share them. But please don't make me have to pack them again. I'm only charging for the hot sauce that's out there. So I was with a friend one day who was having some domestic problems, and she wanted some company. She had to go to the courthouse, file some papers against a family member sort of thing. And I came home and I wrote this song. It's not about her. It's just about someone else that I saw there. This is how songwriting happens. It's just like catching something out of the air. It's just like that, just that easy. This is called All She Ever Dreamed. All she ever wanted were the usual things: children, a husband, and a house. Simple cotton clothing and food to eat, an occasional Friday night out. Well, she was well on her way to heaven. All the things of which she dreamed, when she found that all he'd ever wanted were the ploys of an angry man's game. Now the children watch her take another beating, and they cry and hover against the wall. It'll all repeat itself in the morning, with a breakfast she cooks and all. Now she stands in a line at the courthouse with a letter and shoes too small for her feet, and she waits for someone to guide her, with the children wrapped round her knees, and all she'd ever dreamed. Thank you. I guess speaking of dreams, I was having reoccurring dreams about Tracy. And somebody warned me. She said, "It's tricky when your loved ones pass and they keep showing up in your dreams, because it's like, you know, you feel like it's reality, and it's very, very confusing. And so I think that I finally figured it out, because there was a suitcase involved in these dreams a lot of the times. She was packing a suitcase or packing boxes, and then it suddenly occurred to me that she was trying to say, you know, it's time to move on. And so little song came down, and I'm so glad to have it because it helps get something off my chest. This is called 3 a.m., and this is the last song on our program. Thank you so much. Yes, we made it. Dark as night, while I'm in my deepest sleep, and the moon shines so bright. My sad recurring dreams prove to be the great deceiver, 'cause they've got their hold on me, and like my memories, neither one could keep her. And in these dreams I'm trying to ask her, where have you gone? And in these dreams she's trying to tell me that it's time to move on. There will be one special bird that dares to wake in the lonely hours before the dawn, while in the moon I can see her face, and when she flies she sings down to me with such brevity, like a Carolina wren. I'm awake again, it's 3 a.m. and this nightmare never ends. And she's with me all the way. And in these dreams she's trying to tell me, where have you gone? And in these dreams she's trying to tell me that it's time to move on. Day becomes a night, while I'm in my deepest sleep, and the moon shines so bright. Even after all these years, listening for the message that you send, Thank you so much.